When we look at the laws governing the city, when we look at the norms of the city, when we look at the expected behavior, there are three things I mentioned now: laws, norms, and expected behavior. When we look at these three things, we now begin to see who built this city. What is the dominant culture here? Because the foundation of every city is not their money, it's not the science, it's not the technology, it's not their fast-moving trains. It is the laws, it is the norms, and it is the expected behavior. My name is Chima and I welcome you to day 11 of Boqer School of Government's 32 Days of Government. It is my pleasure to receive each and every one of us here, and I'm super excited indeed to be sharing the next 1.5 hours with us. We reflect on a city whose builder and maker is God. If you go out to the street opposite yours today, and you begin to ask men and women randomly, what do you think are the components of thriving civilization? Many people will begin to point at things. Maybe they can talk about economic might, and they can justify it, saying that without strong economies, their civilizations cannot be built, and it's a good argument. Others can talk about military might, to say if you have strong economy but you don't have strong military, then you may not be able to protect yourself, may not be able to protect even your economic interests. Then others will say you need to add to economic might and your military might tech advancement, because if you have military that is large, economy that is large, then another economy and advancement can outcompete you if they can get better technological advancements. So if you ask people what consists of a thriving civilization, you can hear things like tech advancement, economic advancement, military might, etc. But the thing is that these things are usually hard infrastructure. They are classified as hard infrastructure. Hard infrastructure, you have the money, or you have the system that can produce the money. But then people will also talk about high-rise buildings. They will tell you about airports. They will tell you about physical infrastructure. They tell you interconnected roads. Today, we now live in the era of bullet trains, fast-moving trains. So people will tell you that for your civilization to advance, there must be interconnectivity, whether they be of internet. Now, internet speed is also part of that infrastructure that people can mention. You can also talk about penetration of digital devices. You can talk about houses, infrastructure, high-rise buildings, railways, waterways, all of those. But the thing is that all of these things are what we classify as hard infrastructure. Now, they are the ones that come to the surface. They are the ones that you see. But that is not actually the foundational building block of any thriving civilization. So when you're looking at any economy, when you travel to any city, when you visit any country, the attraction will be there to see the orderliness, to see, they have very tall buildings here. They have fine hotels here. They even have parks here and recreational centers. But that's not the first place you look if you really want to understand or judge any territory. One of the first places you look at is what we call soft infrastructure. Soft infrastructure. You ask yourself, for instance, the people living here, how do they behave? What is their work ethic like? Are they ethical? Now, we didn't ask the question, are they religious? And by the way, ethics is a godly attribute, just that it is deprived of God. Ethics is godly attributes devoid of God. When we say that someone is ethical, We are expecting him to manifest godly attributes, truthfulness, kindness, punctuality, all of those things that we think of, and we say that this person is ethical. It is just that that ethics is not anchored on God. It is just anchored on shared values. But you want to ask yourself, within any society, are the people here ethical? Are they hungry for growth? There are societies you will get into, you will find that the people are so relaxed. And there is this thing about success that it tends to dull access. That sometimes when a civilization achieves so much success, they now begin to pursue pleasure. They now begin to relax. So you ask yourself, are these people hungry for more? Are they innovating? Are they wanting to break new frontiers? Or are they resting on their oars or on past glories? Are they enterprising? What is the governance system like? Now, by governance system, we don't mean democracy, every man one vote. It could be that. But what we're saying is, do they have laws? Are those laws enforced? But the thing about laws is that laws have two branches. What we call laws today have two branches. And you need the both to build a thriving civilization. No human society can enforce their laws 100%. They don't have the capacity to enforce their laws 100%. Again, if you look at what is happening in the UK now, the UK is trying to decongest their prison. They are trying to, people who have served 3 years, 2 years, 5 years into their sentences, they are trying to move them out so that they can have prison spaces. The other time, they were trying to start shipping undocumented immigrants to Rwanda and some parts of Africa. Even in America, America no longer have prisons. Now they are relying on private prisons. So in case you are looking for business opportunity, just go and buy land in America and build prisons. Yes, if you build prisons, they will put people there because they've run out of that. Why is that? Because no society can enforce their laws 100%. The cost is punitive. Therefore, that's why most societies that are thriving, what they want to do is to get the people to willingly comply to those laws. And that's what you say, are people ethical? For instance, when no one is watching, do people jump queues? When no one is watching, do people beat the traffic? I saw a video about the incredible thing that we saw in the person was promoting India. I'm not India, Japan. So that thing looks like a train station or a subway. And then there's a straight line that divides the staircase. One is for people going up and one is for people coming down. And it seems as if it is work in the morning that many people are going to work, so they are headed towards one direction. And you see that the one that was going up was super, super crowded. Yet, everyone was carefully following the line. Although the one that people are supposed to descend from, nobody is there. But they stood in line. They did not go to break the queue. They did not go to use the other staircase. They were willingly piling up to use the staircase. And it could mean that they could be delayed. But in Nigeria today, for instance, and there is just 2 minutes traffic, you will see our drivers drive against the traffic to go and cut off the traffic. So what you're going to ask yourself, can this city I'm talking about, this civilization, do they willingly obey their laws? Do they willingly pay taxes? Even America cannot enforce 100% tax compliance. Their IRS is not up to it. Do they willingly do this? But that's only one half of the equation. Because despite all your education, despite all your acculturation, despite all your civic education, there are some that will not willingly obey those laws. And therefore, the next question to ask about laws is, do they enforce those laws? And then, do they enforce it on a consistent basis? We are talking about soft infrastructure. What are the laws like? Not how high is the skyscrapers. When you get into any society and they have high skyscrapers, but the men there are not ethical. They don't obey their laws willingly. Even the law enforcement do selective application of justice. Then give that society time, it will self-destruct. You're going to ask yourself, what is education like here? What's their level of education? Both formal and informal education. But more importantly, civic education. But not just civic, you need it in STEM. Not just in science, you need it in also arts. What is the education here like? What is the human capital development? What is the human capital capacity development of this country, this area like? It is when you have asked all these questions and aggregated them that you begin to look and judge a civilization. If you have an army that is large but undisciplined, an army that is small but disciplined can rout them any time of the day. These people, are they relaxed ethically? Are they beginning to lose their mojo? For instance, in America, you are beginning to see what the elections look like. Very soon, if they don't take time, it will become open day ballot box snatching. Open day ballot, and then you see a society in decline. What of the values? Are they relaxing on those values? Are they now pursuing more entertainment than innovation? Are they now pursuing more cashing out than in adding value? Do people tend to give in to pleasure? This is the first place to look at when you are looking at any civilization. And this is what we call the soft infrastructure. The soft infrastructure. When we look at the laws governing the city, when we look at the norms of the city, when we look at the expected behavior, there are three things I mentioned now: laws, norms, and expected behavior. When we look at these three things, we now begin to see who built this city. What is the dominant culture here? Because the foundation of every city is not their money, it's not the science, it's not the technology, it's not their fast moving trains. It is the laws, it is the norms, and it is the expected behavior. This is the first place to look at when you want to judge any civilization. And in the story of Lot, Lot did not look at these things. Let's go to Genesis chapter 13, verse 8. So Abraham said to Lot, oh, sorry, he's still Abraham by now. So Abraham said to Lot, please let there be no strife between you and me, and let there be no strife between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord. It was like the land of Egypt as you go towards what? Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan. Actually, Abraham dwelt in tents. Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain and pitched his tents even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked. What looks like a thriving civilization. The pasture was lush vegetation. They even have perhaps well planned out cities by that time. But they were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. So you see what he saw. Abraham said, choose anywhere you like. And guess what he started looking at? Skyscrapers, lush vegetation. Their currency is hard. Like if I make $1, I convert it, it becomes 1,600 naira. Their minimum wage is super duper. The environment is good. I mean, if you pull out your iPhone to take pictures here, it is Instagrammable in society. But the Bible says that the men there are what? Wicked, and they do abominable things. So this is how men of today choose where to live. A lot of us are like Lot. There is no higher purpose to their choice of where to pitch their tent. There is no sense of purpose. How they choose cities to live in is greener pasture. Their only purpose is to make money and to live the good life, good in quotes. And we have taught in one of the classes, the previous series, that public servants in Canada, for instance, can edit the destinies of unsuspecting Nigerians. If they need bricklayers, they will begin to target their immigration policies to attract bricklayers. If they have an aging population, and once they do that, many people who are unsuspecting will start becoming bricklayers, not because it was in their original plan, but because they are looking for greener pastures. When they have an aging population, they begin to favor their immigration policies to attract talents around healthcare, around nursing. So when they have an aging population, they can tweak their immigration policies and unsuspecting people can begin to respond. So today you have Nigeria minting a lot of healthcare workers. Not that they were called into healthcare. They are just responding to the immigration policies of the West. If tomorrow they want engineers, you will see people all of a sudden start migrating to engineering. Another case in point is that if you had met people 20, 25 years ago and they were activists, chances are higher that they will be human rights activists. If you meet them today, 10 out of 20 are climate change activists. What's changed? The funding appetite of those who control the narrative. They are now putting money into climate change. So every young person is a climate enthusiast. In the 90s, it was fashionable for them to put money into human rights. So everybody became a human rights advocate. Today, is climate change. Everything you do, climate change. Even if you're going to do election, climate change must be part of it. I saw the policy. Nigeria was trying to do census, climate change inside it. If someone coughs now, climate change. Why is that? Because a lot of people are looking for money. So if you put money in climate change, they will gravitate towards climate change. If you put money in Canada, they will run to Canada. If you put money in the US, they will run to the US. There is no overarching strategy. There is no overarching purpose to where they choose to pitch their tent. What they look at is the skyscrapers. What they look at is the economy. And sometimes when people talk, they say, oh, it is the quality of life. And I can understand it. Some people say, oh, it is insecurity. Do you guys know that some people are still living in Sambisa, in Boronu? Do you guys know that people live in Boqer, in Kwande, local government area of Benue State? And many times they live till old age. And death will find its way to the US and be killing people there. And people can be slopping in the streets of UK where there is no insecurity, relatively. So how do you choose where to live? How do you choose where to build your business? How do you choose where to pitch your tent? Your purpose. And you look at your skill set. You look at your vision. This vision I have, can I implement it in what city? My passion for good governance, can I implement it in the US? Is it better suited where there is bad governance or where there is relatively good governance? This is my passion to help this kind of people. Where am I better situated? So purpose drives the choice of where to pitch our tents, and not money, and not responding to the immigration policies of foreign countries. Even if we are making money and we're enjoying other good things of life, we don't take our eyes off our purpose. This is how many people choose wrong, and in the case of Lot, you will soon begin to see what he suffered. If not by the mercies of God, he would have lost everything. And this is how many people choose wrong and were destroyed. This is how many people choose wrong and destroyed their marriages. This is how many people chose wrong and destroyed their lives. They were living relatively well in Nigeria until they decided to immigrate. Now, both of them now found themselves in a society that the norms and the laws of that society cannot sustain their marriage. Although you have a faster car now, you have a bigger car now, you have a bigger house now, you have a softer bed now, but sleep has eluded you. Many people chose wrong, destroyed their marriages. They saw high-speed trains. They saw McDonald's. They saw pizza. They saw all those entrapments of the city. And some damaged their children. Some now have lived all their lives and their children refuse to come home. They are now trying to go home to their countries because they are now homesick. So when people are doing Japan, we are not the first generation. We are not. This is not the first wave of Japan. It happened in the 80s, in the 70s. Many of those people have now returned. Some of them couldn't even return. Of course, some of them achieved good success because must all of us say here, no, God can choose to send you on the mission field, can choose to send you to America. Maybe for a month, maybe for a year, maybe for 10 years, maybe for a lifetime. But wherever you are going to, make sure that it is God that is sending you. That you're not doing your analysis based on skyscrapers like Lot. That you're not making your analysis based on greener pastures. And some, after spending so many years, found out that they did not really fulfill their mission. Yes, they have a faster car, they live in a bigger house, they live in well planned out cities, they have retirement benefits, they have something in their retirement plans, but there is nothing on the side of purpose. And this is not to badmouth Japan, like I mentioned earlier, or trying to live in cities. Even those who live in Nigeria, many don't have business in mega cities. It might be another place that your vision can thrive. But if we use the Lot formula to determine where to pitch our tents, many times it always ends in tears. For the purpose that we are pursuing part-time, that inner light, and tomorrow we're discussing guiding lights. That inner light is how we choose careers, is how we choose cities to live in, is how we choose things. And this is where it gets frustrating for many religious folks. No. Because if you don't build soft infrastructure, rather, like we have mentioned, soft infrastructure precedes hard infrastructure. Because if you don't build the soft infrastructure, if you don't tie up the laws well, if you don't tie up the culture well, if you don't tie up the expected behavior well, if you are small on those things and you are big on infrastructure, you will see that it's a mere waste of human efforts because all of those things will come tumbling down. I'll give you an instance. You see countries like Nigeria trying to build manholes. I hope you guys know what manholes are. So when they do an expressway or a tarred road, and then there are underground gutters there, and then they have manholes where if those gutters are blocked, service workers can enter those and they clog the manhole, but then they cover it with metal lid. Those are things we call manholes. You see it in well planned out cities. If you don't develop the soft infrastructure and we are putting manholes, guess what? It will become condemned iron. Go through Abuja today. You will see manholes there. As you are laying it in the day, people are coming at night to it is condemn iron. And how can you now start putting police on the road to protect manholes? You see why I said that for laws to be effective, people must have to willingly comply, because you can't enforce all your laws. Imagine every manhole, people are putting policemen to start guarding and protecting manholes. Do you know that Nigeria was laying railway tracks? Condemn iron people were losing railway tracks. They were losing it. They were losing it. At least from the last protest that you saw in one of the videos I saw, people were losing the roof of a building. I say, roof of a building, is it part of protest? If you don't build the soft infrastructure, everything you're doing on the hard is a mere waste of human effort. Another example is that you will see people who live in comfort, people who should know, but they don't. They drive super luxurious vehicles, but as they are driving, you will see them wind down and they flip things out of the car onto the road. No fineness at all. I think it was David Hundeyin who says Nigeria has no elites. What he was actually saying is that Nigeria has no soft infrastructure. And because of that, everything we're trying to build on the surface will come tumbling down. You will see the super elites, very educated, yet they are the ones that will jump queues in the bank. You see people with good you will think that, okay, when there is traffic, that it will be people who did not go to school that will be driving against the traffic. Until you see professors, until you see people riding in super comfy cars. And guess what? You would think that these people should know better and do better, but they don't. So, finances or success does not civilize a man. That's what I'm saying. That success, that money, that cars, it does not civilize it. The civilization is an internal thing, not an external. So the person can have all the cars in the world, but he's still behaving like a village man. Not even a village man, a bushman. Go out of your cities tomorrow and observe how people react to traffic situation. It will show you the level of societal advancement. It will show you where you are on this thing called civilization. So one can be rich, but yet primitive. Primitive man, a caveman, but they have money. Cavemen, but they have PhDs. Primitive, uncultured, uncivilized. And that is the same way we are saying that men can have money, but when you go there, you see that the people here are primitive. They have money, but they live in caves. There's no guiding lights, no civilization, no culture, no enlightenment. Civilization is first inward before it comes outward. You remember when Jesus would say, who will give a swine pearls to swines? If the person is a swine inside, don't bother putting on a cloth on it. Change the inside thing. Some of you may have given out clothes before. And the clothes you used for 3 years, 2 years, the shirt was still white. And you took it and gave to another person. After 3 months, you saw the clothes, and the cloth was no longer clothing. My Smuru says that if you bring a villager and put him in the palace, he will turn that palace to his village. If you bring someone who was raised in the palace and put him in the village, he will recreate his palace, because that thing is inside. He will now recreate it. You now see people who were trained in public yards. When they eventually move into estates, you will see it by the way they hang their clothes everywhere. You will see it by the way they drop buckets. You will know that this one was trained in a public yard. You don't have to ask the person until the person begins to make conscious efforts to apply himself to this new environment. So, acculturation, civilization is first an internal thing. It is first a set of norms, set of laws. So I see Nigeria trying so hard to build mansions. I saw what they did in Ebonyi, trying so hard to build superstructures, highways. You are building bridges, but the people don't have cars. You are putting manholes, but the people are hungry. They will take the manholes. Many state governors are building airports. The people who will use the airports are. That's why you go to airports today. There was one airport I went to. I made the video of the airport. Chima International Airport. I said I will not post this video. And that was at the height of their rebranding of the airport. See the bedroom. In fact, one of the pictures that I will paint is when you go to a nice place, a bank, a facility, don't bother about their reception area. Once you go to the toilets, that will show you the civilization of the people here. You go to churches, you go to convention centers, very massive, until you tell them, can I use the restroom? That's where you will see the civilization, because they are always building for the front end, nothing in the back end. They're always trying to show, they're always trying to, but there's nothing inside. So when God, remember that we're talking about the city that God builds, a city whose foundation and builder. So when we look at your laws, when we look at your culture, we know who built the city. If we see waywardness, we already know who is building it. If we see some kind of behavior, we already know who is building it. If we see some kind of laxity, we know who is building it. Because God governs in three realms. God governs in three realms. Let's go to Isaiah 33, verse 22. For the Lord is our judge. The Lord is our lawgiver. The Lord is our king. He will save us. The Lord is our judge, the judiciary. The Lord is our lawgiver, legislature. The Lord is our king, executive. He will save us. What you call democracy, there is a class. It's called the Christian and his ballot, where we took our time to show that what you call democracy is actually a godly function, but unbundled. So God governs in those three realms. He functions as king, he functions as lawgiver, and he functions as a judge. So how do we know a city that God is building? Because our anchor scripture, let's read this. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 10. By faith he dwelt in the land of promise, verse 9, as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city which has foundations. Now, all of the things we've talked about are foundations of a city. If they are not lawful, the foundation is faulty. If they don't have a culture, if they are not ethical, if they are not aspiring, if they are not enterprising, if there is no ethics here, if everyone is loose, if there are no laws, and if the people don't want to genuinely and willingly comply with the laws. So because every law enforcement agency can only deal with less than 10% of the population, can only deal with less than 5%. Even the highly policed cultures, American police, military, and everything put together can only take care of 5%. If the people who genuinely want to break the law per time exceeds 10%, then the society will collapse because no system can carry that. If people who want to break the law exceeds 5% of your population says that they want to break the law, there is nothing you can do. Your prisons cannot take them. The police cannot arrest. They will be. Which one will you arrest? As this person is coming to lay complaint, the other person is coming to. Even the policeman will be overwhelmed. That is why you must get to the point where your citizens are willing to comply, so that the law can now take care of the 1% or 1.5% that are deviant. Looking for a city with sure foundations, whose builder and maker is God. God builds cities, God builds civilizations. He does. He builds. So when God wants to build, there are three things he does. First, he demonstrates his strength. And you will see this with Adam, because he was Adam's God, Adam's king, Adam's lawgiver, Adam's judge. So when he wants to build, he first of all demonstrates his strength. Let there be light, and there was light. Let there be this, and there was this. He demonstrates power. And after he has demonstrated power, we're talking about the city that God built. He gives the laws. He begins to train and culture the person. He begins to civilize the people. He begins to bring training, because every spirit is a teacher. Every spirit teaches. Every spirit teaches. It is a spirit that taught men how to drink. It's a spirit that every spirit teaches. And so the spirit begins to teach how you can live in this civilization. So like I mentioned, God was Adam's king. Was his king. But that's not just what he was to him. He was his lawgiver. He says, I have created you, I have put you here. Out of everything here, eat. But you see this tree, don't eat of it. But that's not where he stopped. Eventually, when he acted, he now became a judge. And because you have done this, this will happen. But after he passed judgment, he now executed it. He now sent angels to drive them out. That was him functioning as a lawgiver, as a judge, and as an executive. Because spirits first civilized through teaching, through laws. You will also see this with Moses. He first of all God demonstrates power in bringing the Israelites out. You know about the 10 plagues, you know about the Red Sea, but immediately he brought them out. Here comes the mountain, where he begins to tell them. Did you know that he told them how to build their tents? Did you know that he was telling them about sanitation? Did you know that he was telling them about quarantine? If you have leprosy, if you have infectious diseases, quarantine the person. It wasn't in COVID-19 that we discovered quarantine. Go back to the Bible, you will see where if you have, they will take you to the sick bay outside of the camp so that you don't infect the others. He told them about how to plan their sewages, the kind of foods they eat. He started giving them civilization, started culturing them. Because acculturation, civilization, don't stop. Remember, he has not even taken them to the promised land. But here he is giving them laws. They are still on their way. But laws have to be put in place. Systems have to be put in place. Education he has to train them, educate them, civilize them. Because every spirit likes to teach, and they teach men. You now see why they asked Jesus in Acts chapter 1 verse 6, will you at this point restore the kingdom to Israel? And he answered, he says, it's not left for you to know the time the Father has put in his care. But you shall receive power when the Holy Ghost will come upon you. And you will be witnesses. Because why did you lose the kingdom? You lost the kingdom because you lost your values. In the case of Israelites, their civilization was thriving until they began to live wayward lifestyle, until the ethics dropped, until the society became oppressive, even to the poor. And so when they were now looking for Jesus to come and become like, fight the Roman Empire, Jesus says, no, you will receive power. Because this power will now begin to teach you again. If you subject yourself, if you work with this power, it will begin to educate you. Now, it is when you are now fully educated that you can now take the kingdom. I've not come to institute my kingdom. No, I've come to plant it in your heart. Because once we can civilize this man, once we can set up the soft infrastructure, because you lost the kingdom at the soft infrastructure side of things. And so if I want to give you back the kingdom, I will give it back to you at the soft infrastructure side of things. You see many people whose fathers built skyscrapers for, leave businesses worth billions for, leave all the things for, but there's no soft infrastructure in their lives. They will sell all those properties. And eventually, they will begin to live at a level at par with their internal civilization. If you give every Nigerian 1 billion each today, give them 4 years, the poor people will come back to poverty. The rich people will now become mega rich because every water will find its level according to the internal civilization. According to the internal civilization. So after laws comes a judge. This is how God builds. He first demonstrates his power. You can call that executive. But he gives the laws. He teaches. When we read yesterday in Titus chapter 2 verse 11, it says that is a grace that appears to all men, but it teaches us to say no. That grace teaches. And after he has taught you and given you the law, he comes as a judge. Because after the law, he enforces the law with a consistent set of reward. He consistently rewards people. If you do good, there's a reward. If you do bad, there's a reward. Now, he may choose to delay, but it looks like the world's to come. But we don't have to wait. We can replicate heaven on earth. We can replicate Eden. If we can just find the formula, we can replicate it here. So you remember the story of night markets. Many of us will not remember. I don't even remember. I heard this story from people. There's something called night market, and it was in Nigeria. So night market is this, that people who are traders, in the evening they will close their wares and go home. In the evening they will close their wares and go home. When they go home, they use beads or stones to put on every good. Now there's this good, they put the stone on it. That stone is to show you how much that good is. Now, when people who travel in the night come across that night market, there is nobody in the market, but they just go there to buy things. So when you touch this particular good, you see 4 stones there. These 4 stones now show you that this good is 14 naira. The person takes the good, puts the 14 naira, takes change, and leaves the money there. It was in Nigeria because there was a soft infrastructure. Today, you have to lock up your shop, put CCTV, hire me guards. Yes. The city. If we don't get it right at this soft infrastructure, every other thing we are building will collapse on our head. We must get back those cultures, those values. And then some of us today, there are countries you will go to, you can forget your wallet in a cab and it will be restored. But for some of us, some who live in Lagos, you don't have to forget it. Just be trying to enter the vehicle. You will have to hold your pocket with 2 hands. It's a culture, it's a civilization, it's the soft infrastructure. Regardless of what you build in Lagos, so far that wallets don't get restored in Lagos, it will come toppling down. Because what sustains civilizations is not the skyscrapers. Imagine you build fast-moving trains where the workers don't come on time. I see our politicians trying to build gigantic structures, but they don't invest money in education, especially in civic education. I see a lot of churches trying to build mega churches, mega this, but they don't invest money in training their people. And America has done that. Britain, been there, done that. This craze for building mega churches, it was there in the UK. Today, those churches have turned to clubs because you are building churches, but there is nothing to build in the lives of the people. They are not investing in their young people. They are not investing. They are building every day, build. And we're not saying that it is bad. But we're saying that if you forget the hard infrastructure, just give it time, it will come tumbling down. But you say now that some of these countries that you say that have soft infrastructure, they are not religious. So why is it that societies who don't worship God, sometimes who don't send God, why is it that sometimes they are ethical? And then those places where we pray 5 times a day and shout on top of our voices every Sunday, that even in church, they are announcing for you to hold your wallet, hold it firmly. Jesus says, if anyone says to this mountain, be thou removed, and he says that person, so that person doesn't have to be a Christian. That person doesn't have to be, he might be an atheist. All you need to do is to say to the mountain and believe it without doubt. You don't have to be born again. You don't have to speak in tongues. These are universal laws. So there are laws already set in place that any society that applies will get to the top, with or without acknowledging God. But there are laws, if you don't apply it, pray from now till eternity, nothing is going to change. So anyone that anchors their society around these values, anyone that builds their society around punctuality, around ethics, around godliness, around hard work, if you see a society where people are ethical, people speak the truth, people are punctual, people are hard at work, people are kind, people are industrious, give that society time, you will see them at the top. If you also see a civilization where people are lying, cheating, always trying to defraud, no matter what they have built, give it time, it will come collapsing. And you see, as Africa begins to take flights, what we are focused on building is the highways, is the airports, is the private jets. Look at our school children. What are we teaching them? What is in the school curricula? What is in the civic education curricula? These mansions that we are building, how are we preparing the people that will live in there? These fast speed trains that we're trying to build, how are we preparing the citizens? If you don't prepare them after laying the rail tracks, it will become condemned iron. If you don't educate your people, if you don't invest in human capital development, which is actually every civilization that has thrived, they started at the human capital. If you build the people will now build. So if you train these people, they will now organize their societies. If you build the people, they will build their societies. They will now build mansions. If you don't build the people and build the mansion, they will reduce it to their level. Maybe try building a house in the village and bringing people from another place to come and live in that house. After 1 year, in fact, build rented apartments and rent it out to people. The same block of flats. After 1 year, come back and look around. You will see that the people who are well cultured, their flats will look like their culture. The people who are not well cultured, their flats after 1 year will look like where they are coming from. And so you see now that there are laws, there are principles that govern every society. So whether or not you believe in God, if you apply this, there are laws, there are principles. You can't break them. You can only break yourself against them. Because Jesus says that God, his sun shines. His sun shines on both the good, the bad. When he reigns in the good man's house. So when there is a structure put in place that can govern this universe, the structure of innovation, the structure of hard work, the structure of entrepreneurship, the structure of values, If you imbibe these structures, you don't have to call on God to make success out of life. The biggest need of a poor man is not money. The biggest need of a poor man is not money. What he needs is financial literacy. First, he needs the soft infrastructure. Because if you give him 10 billion without financial literacy, except if he goes to acquire it, if not, he will reduce that 10 billion to his level of financial literacy. So there are people every time, money, 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 money. You're telling them, buy them a book they will not read. Attend this conference, no. Go to this training, no. Watch this video, no. What they are looking for is money. If you give it to them, give them 4 days, they will come back looking for money. That's why many young people of Nigeria, they're always trying to bet Nigeria, Lotto. They are trying to gamble, gamble, gamble. Even if you win 1 trillion today, you will not become Dangote. And we have said it. You see a lot of them into Yahoo Plus trying to defraud. Immediately they make money, see how they spend it. It shows you their financial literacy. They are buying Gucci, they are sleeping. They no longer can sleep in their houses. They sleep in rented apartments. They are buying the latest iPhones. And then immediately it ends. They are now looking for the next person to defraud. All they are doing is repeating cycles of poverty. So they hit $10,000 now. All of a sudden, they get to zero. They hit another $5,000. They get to zero. They keep hitting and getting to, because they must always come back to their level of financial debt until one day they run out of grace and they land in prison, as they always do. You tell them, acquire financial education. No. What they tell you, there is money that they need. So some of us here who want to help people, if you don't give them financial education, that money you are giving them, they will waste it. The best you have done is that you provided food for a day. So maybe send them to a place where they will learn entrepreneurship. Send them to a place where they will learn skills. Give them books to read. And when you have, send them to training, send them to conferences, attach them to mentors who will mentor them. And after a while, when you have received reports, then while they are under that training, you can be giving them stipends for their upkeep. But don't give people major money without major training. I see a lot of people, they say, I want to settle my family. And you work so hard, and you take your hard-earned money, and you give them money. You invest 5 million, 10 million. And after 1 year, nothing. And in fact, the best you can get is that they now say that you are now doing, you're using charm. That you gave them the money and use charm to collect it. Give them financial literacy. Build the soft infrastructure before you build the super infrastructure around it. That's why in Nigeria, we will keep taking loans from IMF. Keep taking loans, keep taking loans, keep taking loans. If you don't build the soft infrastructure, loan will not help you. And for many Christians, they are frustrated. Or many religious folks, let me not say Christians, although they call God, although they do religious rituals, although they do the rigmaroles of religion, it does not confer on them success. And they look across the field, people who they feel that these people are not worshiping God. However, those people have aligned with the principles that have been set up that governs the universe. Those people end up with better results. And to the degree of their refusal to align with these values, with these laws that govern this universe, they have set themselves against the universe, and therefore the universe will not yield its good. I'll give you an example. Because Christians, and it is a good claim, we take ownership of God the Father. We take ownership of Him. But let's say that in this house, I built a house, and as a father, I have my children who I love and who love me. I have my family members who I love and who love me. But then there are visitors or strangers who also come to live in my house. Maybe I love them, they love me, but maybe not at the same level of love. But these my children love me and I love them. And I tell all of them, don't go to that naked wire. Don't go to the naked wire. Now, what do you think will happen to the child I love the most if he goes to naked wire? It will shock him, regardless of the fact that I love him. What do you think will happen to the one that I don't love, but he does not go to naked wire? He will not be electrocuted. Another example, in that same house, I'm traveling and I call all of them. I say, NEPA takes lights in this kind of place. If they take lights, go to the generator house. This is how you turn on the generator. And this is the changeover. And when you have turned on the changeover, you will have light in the house. And then they were all enjoying, and NEPA took light. If the one I love that loves me, that we kiss every morning, okay, if you don't turn on the generator, there will be no light. Our love is intact. I love you, you love me. It is genuine love. But if you don't convert that generator, there is diesel in the generator. If you don't start it to convert that energy to the kind of energy you need, if you don't turn on that switch, regardless of how much I love you, you will be in darkness. And this is where many people who are religious, they love God and God loves them. But this God has set laws in motion, principles that guide success. It is a house. The key you have can unlock heaven and you will die and go to heaven. As a poor man, you will die. But it does not unlock things on earth. If you want success on earth, there are other keys that unlock it. And so if he tells you how to turn on the generator, turn it on. Let me show you two scriptures and we'll conclude because we'll not finish this class. Genesis chapter 8, verse 22. And the Lord smelled a sweeting aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake. In his heart, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, those who were in our 6th or 5th class will remember that this is another emphatic statement about the heart of man. He says, although his heart is evil from his youth, an emphatic statement. Pay attention to it. Nor will I again destroy every living thing. Then we go to our emphasis. While the earth remains, God is saying, while the earth remains, because it will someday not remain, that as long as it stays, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, day and night shall not cease. Seed time and harvest. If you sow, you will reap. There are countries that don't sow, and they end up praying. Guess what? You will not reap. It's a law. Let me show you another law. Genesis chapter 33, verse 2. So the law's gravity was guaranteed by God. I don't care how much you love God. Don't just try gravity. Don't defy it. You cannot break gravity. You can only break yourself. Or at least you apply a higher law. If you don't apply a higher law, gravity is not your mate. Gravity. Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 25. Thus says the Lord, if my covenant is not with day and night, and I have not appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth. So God says, I have a covenant with day and night, and I have appointed the ordinances of heaven. I set the biological processes in motion. Your body I've set it in motion. If you do this, you will get that. No matter how you fast and pray, if you don't meet your wife, there's no pregnancy. It's a biological process. There are chemical processes, and I see a lot of people who disobey chemical processes. They eat all manner of junk. Don't drink enough water. Your kidney will hear it. is a law. The laws of chemistry. That's also where there are principles that govern societal advancement, all of them divinely guaranteed by God. Now, whether you acknowledge God or not, once you apply yourself to these laws, it works for you. But the acknowledgement of God in itself confers a different kind of reward. Applying the principles of the universe, understanding them and applying yourself to it. So if one studies, understands, and applies those laws and aligns with them, you will begin to make good success, good civilization. If not, one can break himself against the Lord, because God supplies the sun. If you harness it, you will get solar energy. If He supplies the sun, if you don't harness it, you will stay in darkness. You don't have to go to church every Sunday to learn how to use solar, to make things happen. But then going to church is important. Now, this is where there is a door that many people want to bang. They want to understand the laws that govern the universe, and they want to apply themselves to all those laws and principles, and then take away the other side of it. Then there are people who say, I don't care about the earth, I don't care about the laws that govern the principles, I can only be religious. And there are some people who say, I don't care about religion, I can only be, once I understand the laws of chemistry, once I understand the laws of marketing, no. So what you want to do, there's a door that going to church and prayers unlock. See life as a mansion. You come into a mansion. If the only key you have is the door to the bedroom, you will not be pressed. But if you don't get the key to the kitchen, you will be hungry. So many people, when they find out that the relationship with God, there's a door, that key of relationship with God opens. But He has put other keys in other places. Therefore, that as you are relating with Him, you must find the other keys. And He can help you find it. But many times, we don't want to find it. We are lazy. We don't want to apply ourselves to it. We just want things to happen to us on the account that we are claiming that we're religious. So I have seen many people who are arguing, let's throw away God, let's throw God away, let's discharge God, let's dispose God. And you will hear this in Nigeria. Many of you may have erroneously or maybe said it in times past. Let us stop building factories. Let us close down all the churches and build factories. Well, go to societies where they have closed their churches and built factories and see how it is working for them. Let's build factories. Let's build science labs. Let's build tech incubation centers. Let us deal with understanding and applying ourselves with the universal laws so we can make the most out of our life. But you see, man is a spirit, soul, and body. The church caters to spirit and soul. The factory scatters to the body. Now, if you say, let us scatter to just the body, now you see that in those societies, depression, suicide, all manner of perversion, all manner of slave trade, people working 10 jobs just so that they can buy iPhone. People breaking themselves, killing themselves, eating junk food, living unhealthy, just so that they can buy a faster car, exchanging their lives for a car. And guess what? Immediately they buy the car, it becomes obsolete. They get another job again, striving. So we need factories and we need churches. Any spirit that tells us to be building only churches and not factories is not a good spirit. And any spirit that tells us to build only factories and not churches is also not a good spirit. We must have the best of both worlds, and we can. We are dealing with the complete man, the spirit, soul, and body. In terms of body, this guy understands his earth and knows how to work it. In terms of the spirit, this man is sound. In terms of soul, the man is sound. We understand that there are laws that govern one in a place and moves the society forward. If you understand these laws, the laws that move nations forward, what did America do to be great? What did Britain do to be great? What are the laws? What are the values they have that help them mount up with wings? Study those values, apply those values, you will get the same result. And promote them, teach them, and apply them until it becomes the dominant value. That's why we are gathering here every evening. Because there is a mindset, there is a pattern we're trying to model for Nigeria and for Africa. The pattern of selflessness. Because selfishness, it will not get us anywhere. So if you find those values, if you find those laws that move any society, if you found those foundations, learn them, number one, apply them, teach them, promote them until they become the dominant lifestyle of the people. Put systems in place and reward systems. Reward those who do right by those laws and put systems that punish those who do wrong. Now, I've said no society can implement its law 100%. That is why we must invest in education to tell the people this is why you don't have to drive against the traffic, so that they willingly don't want to drive against the traffic. But again, we put systems in place that those 5% of the people that will try to drive against the traffic, that will catch them and deal with them. And you will see what a civilization we can build when we have the soft infrastructure and we line it up with the hard infrastructure. We don't want to get to heaven to enjoy bliss. We can bring heaven on earth. And we also don't want to act and live as if everything ends on earth. Because you see this, there are people, they are so interested in going to heaven that they prepare to live in hell on earth. And there are some people, they act as if everything ends here. No, we are not like that. We enjoy the best of both worlds. We bring heaven on earth. We find the laws that can make any society better and we implement it. We find those cultures and we live by them. And then we also live as if life has another form. That we will fight and give our lives, not just to make it better for us, not just to enjoy the best of both worlds, not just to live fully on earth and rest gracefully in the world to come, but also to make sure that we get this, not just for ourselves and our families, but that we get this for our nations, we get this for our countries, we get this for Africa, and we can model it for the rest of the world. Thank you so very much as we continue to build. I'm saying that there are laws that govern every functional society, norms, basic values. We must learn them, we must teach them, we must promote them until it becomes the dominant lifestyle. And then we put systems in place that reward those who do bad rights and will also catch up with those who do wrong. If you don't have laws, then there is nothing left of the society. I want to thank each and every one of us for participating. And I want to reiterate what I had said earlier, that there seems to be an interest on Twitter. Now, I don't understand Twitter algo that much, but I do know that we have Twitter, that we have close to 10,000 followers on Twitter. And yesterday, despite the network glitches, eventually Twitter was telling us that 679 people listened to our class yesterday. 679 people tuned in to the Twitter Spaces. And so we now see that in addition to the people here, by the time we finish the Twitter Spaces now and end it, we will see the algo. So if that 679 is the numbers in real time, or maybe people that revisited after we had left, beautiful. But we now have the motivation to just keep serving the Twitter audience, but not just Twitter audience, but to also double down and deepen it to Facebook and then eventually YouTube. So this is also to make an appeal for us, especially those who are deriving value from these classes, to find ways, reach out and find ways. I did say that the budget for these 32 classes is about between 5.7 and 6.2 M. And we are financing all of this out of pocket. But then we need your support, we need your help to keep pushing through the frontiers. So if you have support, you can reach out to us. The numbers are there for you to reach. Our DMs are open. If you're on Twitter, you can send a DM to Boqer School. You can send a DM to Chima Christian. We have done this class consistently for 11 days. And we're going by the mercies of God to continue for the next 21. Thank you so very much and good night, everyone. My name is Chima Christian. Africa's morning is at hand.